This hour's headline stories. Russia says it will appeal a Belgian court's ruling to seize Russian state assets worth well over €1 billion. Big money and top talks. Economy heavyweights head for Russia's St. Petersburg with expectations for hundreds of millions of dollars in deals. Also coming up, on the verge of a Grexit. It's the last chance for Athens and the rest of the EU to move Greece away from a looming default. Wherever you're watching from in the world, welcome to Moscow and to RT International. My name's Ewan O'Neill. Good to have your company this hour. Russia says it will challenge a Belgian court decision to seize €1.6 billion worth of Russian state assets in the country. RT's Daniel Bushell joins me now to explain where this all stems from. Daniel, what actually occurred in Belgium? Just bring us up to date, if you will.
Well, all Russian institutions in Belgium, except those under diplomatic protection, have received notice their assets will be frozen over a lawsuit by former shareholders of the Yukos oil company. Belgian courts ruled 47 organisations in the country now have 2 weeks to report if they own any Russian state assets. The decision came last night after a €1.6 billion claim by Yukos Universal Limited. Russia's economy minister Andrei Belousov says he'll appeal, but warned Russia expects more asset freezes in other countries apart from Belgium. It's all part of two big European court cases by Yukos shareholders against Moscow. The first case in the European Court of Human Rights was lost by Russia, with the Kremlin agreeing that decision was lawful. The ECHR says there's no direct link, however, between that decision and Belgium's claimed seizure of Russian assets, adding that Belgium probably acted independently. The second case against Russia was held in the Hague Court of Arbitration, which ruled Moscow must pay a record $50 billion damages. But the case is still under appeal, and Moscow says it will use all legal options to defend its interests.
Well, certainly much more to come on this story. Daniel Bushell bringing us up to date for now. Thank you for that. Well, let's get some more background, because Yukos was once Russia's largest oil company, pumping out nearly 2 million barrels of crude a day. It was broken up several years ago in a major tax evasion case, and shareholders have been waging legal battles against Moscow ever since. The new ruling from Belgium represents a tiny fraction of the vast sums of money the former owners have been demanding from Russia, which run into tens of billions of euro. Well, the Belgian ruling could have repercussions at the annual International Economic Forum, which is now underway in St. Petersburg. Russia's northern capital is welcoming business magnates with the buzz of expected deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars in the air. Murat Gazdiev looks at the high-profile guest list and rumoured big money contracts as well.
This year's meet promises to be big, and that may come as a surprise given the current tensions between Russia and the West, efforts to isolate Moscow. But sanctions or no, it seems money chases money, and this year is no exception. 114 countries, organizers say, will be represented here in St. Petersburg. Giants such as Nokia, Telenor, as well as others, and of course big oil, almost all of it. BP, Shell, Total, ExxonMobil, all in St. Petersburg, eager to see business continue as usual. In fact, we're already hearing about BP in a potential deal worth $700 million that could be signed here in St. Petersburg. Other deals potentially worth billions, and that's in defiance of Washington, which has warned Western countries to stay out of St. Petersburg for political reasons. So why are they so eager to get involved?
They are trying to send a message by their attendance in Russia to whoever they are being put under pressure, that politics should not be an obstacle for all our companies to have business in Russia. They are more in need to have such partnerships and business opportunities in Russia than Russia itself need them.
Additionally, a slew of politicians are going to be here in St. Petersburg. Lacking, of course, will be European and American leaders, but that is not to say all of them. For example, the Greek Prime Minister will be here in St. Petersburg, as well as senior officials from China, from India, from Latin American countries and other nations. Even, surprisingly, the Saudi prince, the defense minister, will be here for a little face-to-face time with Vladimir Putin. So certainly the next few days promise to be busy.
Well, as Murad was just saying, the meeting later today between President Putin and Saudi Arabia's defense minister is stealing the spotlight from the multi-million-dollar business deals. The Saudi officials' rise to power has been a swift one. Until just a few months ago, the 34-year-old's main businesses were stocks and real estate. But now His Royal Highness, who is the country's youngest cabinet minister, is said to have a grip on more power than any other Saudi prince in recent times. He's thought to be the king's favourite and has been made second in line to the throne. And a few social media fan pages have made him somewhat of an online celebrity. What's more, Prince Mohammed also seems to have broken the Saudi royals' reputation for not being big on diplomatic travel. Well, when it comes to diplomacy, Russia and the Gulf Kingdom are at opposite ends of the spectrum on a swathe of issues, starting with the civil war in Syria. Moscow is also a long-time partner of Iran, to which Saudi Arabia is an historical rival. Russia has been critical of the Saudi-led bombing in Yemen, arguably the young royal defense minister's most significant undertaking. And as for commodities, both Russia and Saudi Arabia are amongst the oil heavyweights. The editor of Pan-African Newswire says the prince's visit to Russia could precede a major change in Saudi diplomacy.
I think it's very significant that they are sending such a high-ranking official to St. Petersburg. Saudi Arabia is becoming more and more isolated, and they have to break out of this isolation in order to survive. Being allied with the United States is unsustainable. If we look at the situation that is prevailing right now, for example, in Yemen, it illustrates the failure of U.S. foreign policy in the region. Hopefully, there are elements in Saudi Arabia who recognize these failures and the lack of sustainability, and a need to reorient its foreign policy in regard to its relationship with Russia, as well as other states that Russia has friendly relations with. So therefore, it could be a method to see if there is a basis for economic cooperation.
So a big day ahead.